So, hey guys, this is RJ with the Story of Your Life, and I'm here with my wife, Natalie, and we are in the car again, headed out to do some errands today, and I want to talk about some of our big plans that we have coming up, and I'll just jump right into it. So, right now, we live in the United States, in the upper Midwest. I guess we can say which state it is, South Dakota. We live in South Dakota. And we are going to be moving out of the country. This was a decision that we talked about for probably, I'd say, 18 months or so? And we went back and forth on it a whole lot. And I should probably tighten up his straps.
Yeah. Or restrap his.
I'll pull over up here. And so it was something that, this was by no means even an easy decision for us to actually leave the country. So in this video, I think we're going to talk about mainly some of the reasons why. I don't know if we'll go into all the reasons why, because basically there's just so many reasons why we're doing this. And then just some of the challenges that we will be running into. We're going to be talking a lot about this, and I think this is going to be one of the big focuses of the channel going forward. So this is just...
Evan, enough, please.
So it's just the first of many. So now I want to ask you, I'm kind of curious because I don't even know what you're going to answer. What would you say is the biggest reason why we are leaving the U.S.?
Healthcare. I'm not looking for a better healthcare, but I'm just tired of the systemic poisoning.
So can you expand on that? What are some of the experiences that you've had, and how would you say, like, what is it that you're looking for as far as something being better, or what are you trying to get away from?
Okay, well, with our kids being autistic, and
Not this guy though.
not this guy, yeah, this one is as good as gets. I see problems like autism more of a medical issue rather than educational.
Mm-hmm.
So I do believe that it's fixable. I believe that it's curable. I believe that in America, they will never ever do that, because then they would have to acknowledge all the problems that are being caused by the healthcare and the ag system and the way the food is produced, the way food is advertised, school system, all of that. It's a big systemic cancer. The fact that the number of autistic children is growing and all of that, something is causing it. And I do not believe it's just because you are Slavic or immigrant. Because then you look at it...
And just to clarify, that's something that we were actually told. So when we got the diagnosis that our kid was autistic, did you get both at the same time? Or?
Yes, we had them 2 weeks apart.
Yeah, 2 weeks apart. So they were really close. They both got the diagnosis. But anyway, throughout this whole process, one of the things that we did hear was that, well, for whatever reason, we don't know why, but there's just a higher rate of autism amongst immigrants. And of course, Natalie, she is an immigrant to the U.S., and that there's a higher rate among Slav people, and just these other things that aren't really good answers, and ignores the bigger picture of the broader trends of autism. So sorry to interrupt, I just want to add that those are things that we've actually been told.
Yeah, and among all of the things that unite immigrants is the fact that we have to go through a second round of vaccination as adults. And this is completely needless overload on the human body. The inflammatory overload. And so, with that said, I believe that a good food and good sunshine and exercise can help the body to be healed. I do believe that autism is in the gut. Oh, that's kind of very shallow, biomed language. I believe that if we can help our kids to eat better, to nurture them, then I believe that symptoms can be relieved.
Yeah.
And maybe their brains are very pliable. They're very prone to development and healing and all of that. So my belief is that we can help our kids to thrive. And
So can I ask a question? Because I want to clarify a point. So when I asked the question, you said that it was healthcare was the biggest thing. Now, you're not talking about a healthcare system, but you're more talking about the health and well-being of our family, more so than the actual doctors and hospitals and all that.
yes, absolutely. I'm not looking for a better doctors. I'm looking for a better health environment.
Correct. Okay. Yeah. And I would agree with that. The place we're going to is not known for having great doctors. In fact, if you have to go to any kind of serious medical things, you actually need to go to one of the neighboring countries. But as I would agree that one of the biggest reasons why we're doing this is just because we've really come to see how unhealthy it is to live in the United States. And there's a lot of reasons, a lot of things that contribute to it. One of the big things is just the food here is...
Especially in the Midwest. I think I see the big dramatic difference between even living in Colorado and living in South Dakota.
Can you expand on that? What kind of differences?
Just in regards of how unhealthy it is in the Midwest. And I'm not talking about just the life choices. I'm talking about the ag environment here, the agricultural system here, that most of the people, most of the farming here is GMO, Monsanto, Roundup, glyphosate dipped corn and soy, which Roundup goes into water supply. It goes into rivers, it goes into rain, it goes everywhere. Even if you're trying to grow organic, everything that's being rained on inevitably carries that.
Yep.
So I believe that there is more to the struggle. It's not about, well, it's just people are lazy, I don't want to exercise, or it's because it's cold and nobody does anything or goes places. I mean, that's to a degree, but there is underlying toxicity to being here.
Yep.
Something that you have to fight with. And a big important thing to understand about our bodies, that when we are absorb toxins, our body wrap it in fat. That's why autistic kids have a brain damage, because the toxicity of the vaccinations goes into their brains, because that's the fat cells. That's where the toxins kind of stay.
And this is where I going even to the whole point about the Roundup and the whole ag industry. This is something that was brought up with that we were hearing about from Dr. Zach Bush, where he was saying how you can see a correlation between the increased usage of Roundup, increased cases of autism, and a whole bunch of other health issues, and even how, because Roundup is water soluble, it goes into the water, it gets into the rain, it goes everywhere, but ultimately you can see this go towards the Mississippi and the water, the Mississippi River that is, and then as the Mississippi River goes down, the further down the Mississippi you are, you see higher rates of cancer, and even down at the very bottom here in Louisiana, that's where you're going to see just like there's just this big area where you can actually see it on satellite images, and I looked it up and you can see it. It is true that you can see these images of how there's just this decay of the land that's happening. And I went and visited. Anybody have a dog here? So in September, I went and visited the place where we're going to move to, and living here, I was having a lot of really big issues with my health. My gut just was not feeling healthy. When I went there, I was able to eat a bunch of foods that we able to eat here. I was feeling really good. I actually was losing weight, and it was amazing to feel just that difference between living here and for a week that I was there. It was amazing to feel that difference between the two. But another part of this, it's not just about the food.
No.
Another part is we want nicer weather, and I don't think there's anything wrong about saying that.
No.
So for those who have not been to South Dakota,
it snows 9 months a year.
yeah, so we'll usually get snow late April, early May, so we'll have our last snow, and then we'll get our first snow usually late September, early October. That's usually the range. We don't get an incredible amount of snow, but we do get really, really cold temperatures where, we're talking temperatures that are, well below zero. Negative temperatures are fairly common here.
Like minus 30?
That'll be on the very low side of things. It does definitely get down to that. I'd say like if you're on a day, you're going to be experiencing the negative teens, negative 20. That's not uncommon by any means, and it's
paralyzing.
It is paralyzingly cold. It makes it so hard to go out and do things, and it's plus not to mention the lack of sun is the whole seasonal affective disorder just really hits people hard, and I don't want to. I don't know, maybe I might get into this part, but Natalie, she was saying how she has I'll try and keep it as vague as possible. She has a group of acquaintances, friends, people she was hanging out with a while ago, and in this group, would you say the majority or like 50%? But
I don't know what this group are you talking about.
There's a group that you were with that a high number of them. I think you said it's like the majority of them were taking antidepressants or some kind of pills to help with some kind of depression or things like that, like Xanax and stuff. And it's just the amount of usage of even things like that here is incredibly high. And part of the challenge is then when the summer comes, the summers aren't particularly pleasant. They're very humid, but you also don't have
very buggy.
Very humid, very buggy, very windy. You get a handful of actual pleasant days. You may get like 10 pleasant days a year. Somewhere
in May and maybe a little bit in September, but that's pretty much September.
Yeah, and it just makes it where it's not fun to live here. So we've arrived where we're headed to. So we're going to pause here and we're going to circle back once we're done ordering.
Touch hi. We should have done this. Oh, hi.
And we're back. So now we got some coffee here.
Woo-hoo.
On this dreary day. So one of the things we actually discussed is because we hadn't mentioned where we're moving to. That was deliberate because I hadn't decided if I wanted to say where we're moving to, but we discussed that and we decided that we'll talk about it since there's most likely no Russian assassins out there looking to take out our family.
Yet. We haven't moved there yet.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, the day is still young, so we can't take anything off the table. But so we're going to be moving to Montenegro, and for those who either failed geography or went to a public school in the United States, or both, Montenegro is a small country in the Balkans.
It's called Chernogora.
And so if you know where most people know Italy looks like a boot. So if you go to the heel of the boot and then cross the Adriatic, which is that ocean or sea, I don't know what
it's a sea.
Thank you. The sea that is on the back side of the boot. Cross it, you're going to get to the other side of that Adriatic Sea, and you're going to have Croatia. It's going to have most of the coastline. Then in South Croatia, you're going to have Montenegro, and then you're going to go down to Albania. And so Montenegro is this small country that's right there. And it really is a small country. We live, like I mentioned, in South Dakota. South Dakota has a population of under 1 million people. We're right around 800, 900,000, somewhere around there. I don't know what the current number is. And Montenegro has about the same population as the entire state of South Dakota. And if you are watching this from outside the United States, South Dakota by no means is a populous state. It is like second or third least populated state in the entire country.
What's the least populated?
I think it's Montana or Wyoming.
Oh, makes sense.
Yeah. Maybe it's a fourth. I don't know. I think North Dakota is probably up there as well. But like these states up here, in the upper Midwest and upper mountain regions, they're pretty unpopulated. So anyway, that's where we're moving to. And one of the big things that we like about it is the weather. We're really looking for somewhere that is warm, that's not humid, gets a good deal of sun, and it'd also be nice to have a really scenic place. And Montenegro is a very, very beautiful country. If you go more towards the north and inland, you're going to have these some incredible, beautiful mountains, and then along the coast you're going to have a lot of all the coastal beaches and oceans views, and it's a very beautiful country. And this is a big thing, is particularly with this cold weather, these gray days that we have here in South Dakota. We're not getting the sun. We're just not having any. Like I said, we have 10 good days out of a year, and that really has a big negative impact on our kids' mental state as well as our mental state. And this is a big thing that we want to be trying to improve on. And we have looked around other places. We looked around other places in the United States, and any place that's going to have anything close to what Montenegro has to offer in terms of climate.
Oh, it's a.
Oh, it's okay. There's a.
Yeah, I think do you pull over? Oh, no, not. I don't think you're obligated to pull over in state of South Dakota.
I don't know. I'll follow suit. Okay, so we just had a funeral procession go by, and that kind of threw us off here.
If people ask me, so what's the weather is in Montenegro, the best I can sum it up, and I have not been there, is Florida without hurricanes and alligators.
And mosquitoes.
And mosquitoes.
There might be some mosquitoes.
No, there are mosquitoes in the forest. I heard that there's pretty bad situation up on the mountains.
Sure, but not like you have in Florida. Sure, you might have mosquitoes in the forests, but like that's pretty common for forests. You're not going to have bugs and yeah, the humidity is a big thing.
Yeah, the humidity is not there, but I'm more afraid of hurricanes than alligators.
I see. And yeah, so ultimately the climate's gonna be better. Like, yesterday or the past 2 days, we had some pretty good seasons, very nice weather for the season, and that's basically what it would be like on a normal day, or even a bad day in the winter there. And so it's something that we're done with this bad weather. But again, doing this, I mean, that's a lot more of the reasons. So we want to try and live a healthier life. Oh, something else that's really important is I really don't like the amount of driving that we have to do in the United States. So yes, we're in a car right now driving. I drive about 80 to 100 miles every single day, just taking my kids places, taking Natalie to work, doing a lot of these kind of things, and it's a lot of driving, and we have no alternatives in most cities. There's a handful of exceptions, but in most cities in the U.S., you do not have an alternative to driving, and public transportation is looked on as
for the poor,
as an alternative. Yeah, it's something for the poor people. Buses aren't a real way of getting around. It's a way of getting around if you're a drunkard or if you're poor. And this is a really bad way of looking at it. I've been doing a lot of research lately, and actually I'm going to be on a podcast here soon. It's the Happy Warrior podcast. We'll be talking a lot about the problems with the way that we approach building cities and driving in the United States, and why this is such a big issue. And I'm going to make an argument in that podcast that it is one of the biggest issues facing the biggest issue facing the United States, the biggest existential threat facing the United States. So be sure to look for that podcast. We'll be doing it later this month, so keep an eye out for that. But yeah, so there's with Montenegro, again, they don't have a great public transportation system, not like you would see in Switzerland or a lot of other places. But when I was there, I was able to get on a bus and go from town to town, and
they still have buses, and
yeah.
you can walk places.
And it was
they're
walking.
Small,
and
they're small community living.
It's on a human scale, not a car scale. And so you were able to. I was walking around most places. If I needed to go from one city to another city, I would take the bus. But I was still walking most places, and that just it felt so good to be able to do that. And so that's another big important part, and that really does tie into the health as well, because walking around and being out and having this sense of community that you just don't have in the United States, because everyone's in these protected vehicles. Yes, I'm surrounded by people here, but we're all behind these hunks of metal and glass in our soundproof, climate controlled little bubbles, that we don't have a sense of community like you do in a place like Montenegro. And so that's going to be a big part of the reason. So those are the big reasons why we're moving. I also want to get into some of the challenges that we're going to be facing, and just talk about what we're looking at. So basically what we have to do right now is we're going to have the two of us, 3 kids, each person is going to have a carry-on piece of luggage, and we're also going to have a checked bag. And we need to be able to fit nearly all of our belongings into those 10 bags. Plus we'll backpack some personal items, but basically the checked bags can have a total of 50 pounds. So we have to pretty much, I don't know what the weight of the carry-on bags are offhand, but it's less than 50 pounds. So we have to get...
say 30 pounds? Shall we
I think
ballpark?
so. So
look it up.
it's something like we have to get all of our belongings that we're going to be taking there down to around 400 pounds. And figuring out what is it that we take. On top of that, we have to go and sell
35.
So yeah, right around 425 pounds is basically the limit that we have for all of our belongings. And anything else we have to sell. So it's late March right now. We're going to be moving basically effectively at the end of May, and so we have about 2 months from right now to be able to sell everything that we have and accomplish everything.
Okay, on a happier note, I should remark that we have moved a lot in the past, and our philosophy, I don't know how about you, but my philosophy was always one item of a thing is enough. We have never really grew a lot of trinkets. We never really grew around ourselves a lot of emotional attachments. Yeah,
we haven't invested into even things like we have 2 TVs. One of our TVs I won in a contest, and the other TV, we bought that one, but it's like $200, so we don't even have.
And it was secondhand. A lot of things we have secondhand, and what is in regards of furniture, what is not secondhand is bought from Costco and IKEA, and our bed frame is like $115. So I will not count it as a massive financial loss, even if we have to abandon it or donate it or dispose of it.
Well, and a good example of this is there was a meme or a shared post on Facebook that we saw a couple months ago, and it asked a question: what is the oldest thing you owned? And I was looking at all these comments of people, and it was a lot of people had these old heirlooms that were handed down from their grandmother. Some of them were functional, usable things that were antiques. Some of them were more like a blanket or quilt or stuff like that. And we started to think, what is the oldest thing that we own? And the oldest thing I own is actually a jacket that this is kind of a funny story. It was a jacket my dad bought at Walmart, and I don't know exactly here, but it was somewhere around the early to mid 2000s, and basically it was one of these points where the day starts out really warm and things look nice, and so we left the house without a jacket, and then there was a snowstorm later on in the afternoon, as it happens in the upper Midwest, and he went to Walmart and they had this jacket on sale. This is the only one that cost $10, so he just grabbed it so he could have something to wear for that day. And then now I use it as my grilling jacket. So if I'm grilling and it's a bit chilly outside, I'll wear that so that way I don't get all the smoke and stuff on any of my other clothes, and kind of protect myself from the smell. I have no emotional attachment to the jacket whatsoever, and even that thing is
Not coming with us.
it's not coming with us. It's less than 20 years old, and the next oldest thing that we have would be our van, which is about the same age as that jacket. It's hard
But we
to-
never really. I mean, it's old as an old, but it's not
we haven't
something
owned
that
it for a long time.
there was not. Yeah, it was not like. We
Yeah,
don't-
the jacket is something thing I've owned the longest out of anything now that we have. So it's and a lot of it just I've seen a lot of people, including my parents, where they'll buy things and hold on to things that aren't that have more of this emotional value, and we're trying not to invest our emotions and our feelings into objects. They are just things, and this allows us to be able to live small, be able to move quickly like this. We bought the tickets a week ago today, so we've had the tickets for a week. We've been, like I said, we've been planning this for about 18 months. But now we have to go, and we have 2 months to basically sell everything. And one other good important thing to know. One thing that's interesting about Montenegro is most of the places that you can rent are furnished. So in the U.S., it's the norm, the exception to find something that's furnished. The norm is to get something unfurnished. There, most things are furnished, and so that also helps things out a lot.
Some even come with tableware and dishes and something very basic, but it's not like you are moving into a completely bare walls kind of apartment.
What are some other?
Which kind of can get good and bad, because they have a lot of times people don't have owners of the places that they rent. They do not have alternative places to store their things. Like if you want your own mattress in, you gotta figure out where do you store the apartment owner's mattress. And they do not have walk-in closets. From my experience and what I know about European style of living, it's way tighter. The space is way tighter, and the storage space is never thought through. You build in your own, or you bring in a wardrobe. That's the whole culture of a wardrobe. Like, Americans don't know what the wardrobe is or what it is. I mean, they heard in the books and all of that, but it's not something that it is here. It is, you have a closet, and
But I think that's actually better, personally, having wardrobes, because it gives you more options about where it is in the room, and it gives you more flexibility. There's so many times, again, I used to work in real estate, and so there'd be a lot of times where I would be, in a house, and it's generally older houses, where you look at the layout of the room, where the closet is, the door is, the window, and it's just like,
where do you put the bed?
there's nowhere good to put the bed. And this is, whereas if you can choose where the closet is at, then it makes it a lot easier. So yes, the rooms are smaller. Like in the United States, we have very big bedrooms. Even the place we're living right now, the bedrooms are huge. But overall, our apartment isn't particularly well thought out either, because we have this big room that has our living room, kind of a dining space, but it's a really bad dining space, and then this bar that's going to have the kitchen and this ledge.
There's a breakfast bar that, for whatever reason, is 6 inches taller than the regular standard bar is.
Yeah.
So no matter what the chairs we pick for it, it's going to be like this high.
So even there, there's just design flaws, and this is a fairly new building. It's not an old building, so we don't know where. That's another big thing. We don't know where we're going to live yet. We know what city we want to be looking at to start off with.
City of 22,000.
Yep. And it's we're going there first just because it's a more affordable place and there's a very good expat community there. But we don't have an apartment that we have a lease or signed anything on.
Which I would prefer that way. Ooh, I've learned an interesting thing.
What'd you learn?
Apparently, when you rent on Airbnb,
Mm-hmm.
you are expected to bargain after you arrive.
Huh.
I follow a
Is
lot
that
of...
like a cultural thing there?
I believe so. Like, if you see the owner,
Mhm.
if you're walking in, not like picking up the keys from somewhere, like, a lockbox or something, then... So I'm browsing for places to live and how we can arrange our future there, and I'm following a multitudes of Facebook groups, and most of them are in Russian, and what the Slavs are. That's what the Slavs are, and somebody asked how to get the best deal for a couple days while they are settling, and right now it is a hot topic because there's a lot of Ukrainian refugees going on, and a lot of them are staying longer than they were expecting. The ones that were having an early vacation and now they can't go back. So the situation is just kind of shifting in this regard. So people are looking for a bargain, like always people do, like any people do. And somebody said the best way to go about it is to book on Airbnb and bargain on the spot. I did not know that you can do that. And you know what? It brings me back to the Eurasian or Slavic culture where you bargain for everything.
So I think that's...
And it takes as an offense if you don't. Some places in Asia, at least.
So I think those are some of the big... Anyway, I think that's some of the big things. We're getting close to our final destination here, so we'll have to wrap it up. But I think that covers everything I want to talk about today. I'm sure if you are watching this and you have any questions, just let us know. We will be happy to answer any questions that we can. So just put your questions down in the comments below. And we'll probably, like I said, we'll be putting on some additional videos, especially once we get there. We want to be really talking about what it's like to actually leave the United States and live in another country, and how it lives up to our expectations and all that. So if you have not yet subscribed to the channel, be sure to subscribe to the channel and go to the comment section and let us know that you subscribed. And if you do that, we'll give you a personal shout out in a future video. But is there anything else you want to add, Natalie?
No, I think yeah. I think it's a big trip, and
On a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you?
9.
9.
I'm saving the 10
Okay.
because I believe that there's a lot of things that in the
Yeah.
future. It's not my first trip. It's not my first move too, and
First international movie.
yes, it is not my first time changing the culture, changing the place I live, leaving everything behind and starting everything over. So I guess it makes me to a degree more excited. On the other hand, it does not give me jitters or excited in a good way, in a calm way excited, if that exists.
I'm probably putting it at, I don't know, a 7 or 8. I'm very excited about the whole idea, but I'm extremely anxious about the reality of just everything. And it was a very, very hard for me to just jump in and commit to this, but we finally did it. And yeah, so a lot more videos to talk about stuff like the language, learning languages, and renting a car, and a bunch of other topics. But if you have any specific topics you want to hear from us, let us know in the comments. But until then, thank you so much for watching.
Thank you.